Well, I didn't think that the Cats could really stoop much lower than they have offensively over the past couple of weeks, but that one against Ohio State was flat out embarrassing.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What exactly do you even say about this performance off the top, other than the fact that it was just incredibly humiliating for Mark Pope and company? What's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky. I'm your host, Lance Dawe. This was a rough one for the Cats. We're going to be recapping it on today's episode. Ohio State defeating UK by 20 in Madison Square Garden on a night where you could not get anything going on either end of the floor. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. This was just a major setback for Kentucky in a variety of ways. I think that a lot of things were exposed about the Cats in this game. Some concerns moving forward. Just a massive dip statistically on KenPom, which is just a major concern, especially on defense. We'll dive into all of it, kind of what happened, what we saw. Mark Pope was very candid in the press conference. This was just it was just a beating. It was just a thrashing at the hands of Bruce Thornton and Ohio State. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Let's go ahead and get into it again. 85-65 is the final score in MSG. This was an extremely erratic Ohio State team that had, at this point in the season, not really done anything significantly impressive. They were able to beat Texas at a neutral site. They had just gotten manhandled by Auburn a couple of weeks ago, 1 week ago. And they came into this game very shorthanded. Aaron Bradshaw had not played for the last, 3 or 4 weeks or so. Michi Johnson had just taken a leave of absence from the program. You thought, heading into this one, that you'd have a chance to right the ship, so to speak. Kentucky has had some really bad consecutive shooting performances. They're now shooting 35.5% from three, which last year Mark Pope's BYU team shot 34.8%. If you go and look at the numbers, I mean, this Kentucky team statistically is incredibly similar now to where BYU was last year. And they finished 23-11, 10-8 in the Big 12. Tempo's the same, efficiency's the same, turnover rate, rebounds. I mean, this Kentucky team does a lot of things that BYU team did last year. It would be a shame if trends continued, because that means Kentucky would be just running straight forward towards a first-round exit in the NCAA tournament. Of course, I think that there are a variety of reasons to believe that's not going to be the case for Kentucky this year, which we'll get into later in the show. But the negatives, just straight up off the top, this was bad. This was very bad. This was just not good at all in the slightest. And there's not a particular area to turn to. Kentucky just kind of got beat in every aspect of the game. And again, this Ohio State team, they hadn't really done anything significant. You thought the momentum was going to be here. You thought the game plan was going to be on your side. You had a week to prepare for this game with Lamont Butler getting healthy. Butler tonight, 4 points, 1 of 7, 4 turnovers, fouled out. Just some really confusing decisions. Normally, and I think the broadcast pointed this out several times, normally a very good decision-making team just made horrible decisions. They made bad decisions defending. They made bad decisions shooting different shots. They made bad decisions passing. This was, a 6 or 7 point game at one point in the second half? And then Ohio State just took over. This is kind of where you expected the Duke game in the game against Gonzaga to go. You expected Kentucky to just get blown out, but they responded. They tried to respond here, and they simply could not execute. Just, again, it's just all around bad decision-making. All around terrible. You would think heading into this game, and this is what I said in the preview, and I gave Ohio State a lot of credit. I'm like, after watching this team is more resilient, and they're more put together than I thought they were. And they're good. Clearly, they showed that tonight. They're good, but I thought Kentucky would be better, mostly because of their size advantage. I thought Kentucky would be able to handle things down low, and mercy, one of my big takeaways, one of my big keys to the game, rather, was, hey, if Andrew Carr and Amari Williams can play well in this game, shooting the basketball, if they can be able to take some of these Ohio State players off the dribble and finish at the rim and get to the free throw line, it's going to be big. Well, Kentucky did that tonight. They did get to the foul line. They shot 27 of 32, 84.4%. I mean, that's good. Otega Owe took 13 freaking free throws and made all of them. Just shows you the kind of night that he was having to deal with. But Carr and Amari combined to go 5 of 15 from the floor. Carr missed all 4 of his three-point attempts, and they just kept missing over and over and over and over again at the rim. Ohio State, not that tall. Ohio State, not that much weight to them. And Kentucky, they didn't really get outworked on the boards. They only lost that battle by 3. They didn't get outworked in terms of fouls. They got to the free throw line more. Their front court was putrid. And Otega could not stay in front of, neither could Robinson. Kentucky couldn't stay in front of all of Ohio State's drives to the basket tonight. It's just bad. It's just bad. The front court was incredibly underwhelming, and Kentucky's shooting performance is one of the worst I've seen from the Cats, coached by Pope or not, in the entirety of my time covering this team. It's just bad. Just there's nothing else to really say other than just pathetic performance from Kentucky tonight. We'll continue to break it down. Keep it a buck with you. This sucks tonight. It's not the end of the world. You have so many opportunities ahead of you to kind of right the ship. I thought this was going to be one of them. And you've got some at home coming up. We'll continue to break down this game here in just a second. Before I do, though, I want to tell you guys about Game Time. Obviously, this Kentucky team, they can play well at home. You want to see this team in a positive Kentucky environment. And there's no better place. If you want to go see them play Florida, if you want to see them play Brown, which both those games are coming up, there's no better place to go than over to Game Time, because Game Time's the place that you need to go to get your tickets for any upcoming event, concert, show, sports, any kind of sporting event. I've been using them for a couple of years now, and they have been excellent, absolutely excellent. You can take the guesswork out of buying your tickets with Game Time by downloading the Game Time app, creating an account, and using code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, continuing along here on the Saturday evening edition of Locked On Kentucky. Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. Yeah, this sucked. Kentucky didn't do anything well, really, in this game, at least relative to their opponent. Again, 85-65. I'll go ahead and bring it up. Kentucky came into today ranked number 12 on KenPom. They were number 44 in the nation in defensive efficiency last time we spoke. They were hovering at 49-50 before this game. They dropped to 26th nationally. They dropped from 12 to 26, and they dropped from 50th-ish to 61st in defensive efficiency. Their rim protection in this game, for lack of a better term, was horrific. Just putrid. In this game, Ohio State shot 57% from the floor. And they only shot 27% from three. So what does that tell you? Well, if you want to do the math yourself, you can, but Ohio State shot 26 of 38, 68.4% inside the arc. Nobody had a bad game. Nobody had a bad game. Every single Buckeye that got on the floor contributed. Everyone did. Micah Parrish only scored 2 points. Everybody else scored at least 5. Bruce Thornton scoring 30 points. A 6'2", 210 guard just working Kentucky. Absolutely working Kentucky. 7 of 10 from 2, 13 of 14 from the free throw line. And I'll say this is not an excuse. It's just the way that the game went. Ohio State hit bucket after bucket after bucket after bucket. Just a ton of tough mid-range layup type shots that you normally don't see teams hit. Even teams like Ohio State, they've just got some dudes. That is what I chalk this up to. This was a bad matchup against a team that was shooting hot. You played poor defense on top of that, and when you did play good defense, didn't really matter. Nothing was working tonight. 68% inside the arc is good enough to lose you any game. But what else is good enough to lose you any game, rather, is shooting 29.8% from the floor and 18.2% from 3. 4 of 22. Robinson and Brea were the only 2 players to hit a 3. Ohio State only took 15 threes in this game, and one of the big keys to the game that I had heading into this one was make sure that you don't give Ohio State more volume than they typically receive. They came into this one shooting 22 threes a game. Again, only shooting 15, but they didn't need to shoot threes. They didn't need to. They dominated at the rim. Layup after layup after layup after layup. They just diced Kentucky up. And in the first half, it was a lot of just like, we're going to blow by you. You just don't have the speed to keep up. This was very reminiscent of Kentucky's defense last season. Very reminiscent. Extremely familiar this game was. I just want to pull this up real quick. 49.4% is what Kentucky gave up from 2 last year. They're currently giving up 49.3% now. You started off hot. You started this season off very well. And this was a major setback. It's just disappointing. It's just very disappointing. And I'll also say this. I wanted to see a good game from Jackson Robinson. I wanted to see a good game from Jax. I even said, jokingly, I don't want to see a 3 of 11 type performance where you play defense. That is almost verbatim what I said. Robinson in this game, 3 of 11 from the floor, 2 of 7 from 3, 4 rebounds, -5 plus box minus. The reality about Jax is that he's not a phenomenal ball handler. He can't create separation for himself consistently. Inside the arc, he is, again, inconsistent at best. You'll get his moments like he had against Gonzaga late. You'll have moments like tonight where he's 3 of freaking 11. It's just bad. Like the whole team played bad. There was not a single good performance tonight. Not a single one. Otega Owe was 4 of 13. Lamont Butler was 1 of 7. Jax was 3 of 11. Carr was 3 of 9. Williams was 2 of 6. Kobe Brea was 3 of 9. Garrison was 1 of 2, but he only played, 17 minutes? Didn't really do a ton. Just pathetic. Just flat out pathetic. And heading into this game, like, Ohio State didn't do like that great of a job getting to the foul line. And it felt like nearly every time they were getting fouled, like, they were just heading on down to the charity stripe. They took 27 free throws of their own. There was not a single positive statistic to come out of this game outside of free throw percentage. Which all of you wanted Kentucky to shoot better from the foul line. You got it. Hey, you got it in this game. Good job. Had a way to focus on the right things. 36 points in the paint as opposed to your 24. Seven turnovers for Ohio State. They had more points off turnovers. They had more rebounds. They had more bench points, more points in the paint, more steals, more assists. Kentucky only 11 assists in this game. They shut Kentucky down in every aspect. Just controlled it. Just controlled it. The reality of the situation, whether you like it or not, is that things are going to get more difficult from here. So how does Kentucky approach it? We'll break it down here in just a moment. Before we do it, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Rocket Money. Rocket Money, did they help you find any subscriptions you forgot about that you were paying for twice? Well, it definitely happened to me. No joke, actually happened to me a couple of weeks ago because I had a few subscriptions I didn't even know that I had on a different email that I don't use anymore, still paying for it. And Rocket Money made it so easy to track all of these things down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. You can cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. They can help you budget. They can identify, again, different subscriptions you didn't know that you were paying for. They can really help you optimize your financial life. You can go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That is rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. Again, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, wrapping up the Saturday edition of Locked On Kentucky. We are breaking down Kentucky's just humiliating loss to the Ohio State Buckeyes, again, dropping 14 spots on KenPom. I don't even want to go and look at what Evan Mia says now. This was a quad one game that you lost. And guess what? I wish I had a confetti sound to play. Because after you play Brown in 10 days, by the way, we have to soak in this for 10 days. December 31st is Kentucky's next game. After you play Brown, you open up SEC slate. And guess what? You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 quad one games in a row. Florida at home, at Georgia, at Mississippi State, home against Bama and Texas A&M, on the road at Vandy and Tennessee. And wouldn't you know it, you cap off those 7 straight quad one games with a February 1st matchup against John Calipari and the Arkansas Razorbacks. Isn't that just sweet? Isn't that phenomenal? Why is it not the end of the world for UK this year? Well, for a couple of reasons. First of all, Kentucky still has one of the most efficient offenses in the nation. They didn't show it tonight. Just a lot of really poor decision-making. But they still have one of the best offenses in the country. They scored 90 on the Zags. They scored 93 on Louisville. They scored 77 on Duke. It's a pretty freaking good team. They're experienced. They are still very tall. They still have a lot of different guys you can be excited about. Butler is still a very valuable piece. Amari Williams is still very valuable defensively, although he is starting to frustrate on the offensive end of the floor. Jax has high upside. He also has a really low floor, as we've been able to discover through 12 games. Carr is a great power forward. He's still a very good power forward. Despite a bad game today, he's still a good player. You've got pieces to be excited about, y'all. And then on top of that, you beat Duke and Gonzaga at neutral sites. If you can, I think somebody on Twitter said this, and I may be wrong, but if you can somehow lose just one home game If you can win your homestand in the SEC play, which would be against Florida, Texas A&M, Alabama, Arkansas, South Carolina, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Auburn, and LSU, if you can find a way to lose just one of those games and you go 500 on the road, which would be against Georgia, Mississippi State, Vandy, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Texas, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Missouri. If you can find a way to go 500 on the road and you just lose one SEC game, just one, you still have almost definitively a one-seed resume, especially considering what college basketball is this season, but you definitely have a 1 or a 2-seed resume at that point. Probably a 2 now that you've lost to Ohio State, if I just had to guess. But Kentucky still has so many opportunities, man. You can look at it positively, you can look at it negatively. All I know is that you play Brown, you better lock in, dude. You better lock in. Better have a good... I want to see Jackson Robinson have a good shooting performance. Where is it at? Where is Jax? I know that he's not the most efficient guy, but you can't just kind of like stay middling forever. He's going to have a good game at some point, and we're going to rave about it. I'm waiting for it to happen. It hasn't happened yet. Waiting for it to happen against a quality opponent. Florida comes in January 4th. You better freaking be ready for that game. Florida, by the way, today... Currently, by the way, they have the number 7 offense, number 17 defense. They are 13-0. 12-0, 13-0. Beating North Florida 99-45. They just beat UNC. They've beaten Arizona State, Virginia, Wichita State, who is semi-competent this year, who just beat Kansas State, by the way. I said it on Twitter recently, but I'm like, I love college basketball when Wichita State is better. It's just more fun. Wichita State would be somebody I'd like to see in an NCAA tournament game. We know how it went last time. They've already beaten Florida State, have the Gators. They have Stetson on the 29th, and then they're going to roll into Rupp Arena on fire. We'll see what happens. 25-6 or 24-7. 12-6 in the SEC. That is very much so a 2-seed resume. If you're able to win the SEC tournament, that's you are in position to get a 1 seed. All I want is a 3-seed or higher. That's all I want. If you're a 4, you know what? Fine. All I want is a 3-seed or higher for Kentucky. I don't want to have to deal with the crap that Kentucky dealt with last year in the first round. Give me an opponent that Kentucky can beat. Please, just give me an opponent Kentucky can beat. They're on path to do that still. I want to point that out. Ken Palm says they're projected to be 20-11, 9-9 in the SEC. Again, you have so many games at home that you should win or have a very good chance to do so. It's not the end of the world. Kentucky still got one of the best offenses in the nation, whether we like it or not. There's a schedule to be played that is tough. You suck tonight. Let's rebound tomorrow. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On UK. You can follow me on Twitter at Lance_, and you can follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, leave those in the YouTube comments below. Hit me on the socials. I will see you all on Monday for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and God bless. Yikes.